Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, and this time we're revisiting the Sony QX100 camera that basically mounts to your smartphone, in this case an iPhone. Now when I first reviewed this camera, I praised it for its innovative design, but I panned it for its functionality. It was constantly losing its connection with the phone. Over a 20-minute walk, it lost its connection multiple times. And even though this had the guts of an RX100 II, which is a really awesome camera, it didn't have any of the controls of an RX100 II, so you were stuck with what the camera decided, which also often could result in disaster. So let's take a look at a few pictures, and let's take a look at a few of the improvements, if we can find them here. Okay, so this is just a picture that I took in kind of subdued lighting, diffuse lighting. Looks really good, more like a DSLR type picture. As do these flowers. Very clear, very sharp, a little fall off in focus as you go further from the focus point. But look what happens when I tried to shoot this football game. Now the camera did not determine that this was an action shot, and it shot the picture at 1/120th of a second, creating this interesting but not very useful picture. So Sony has worked on their firmware and their software and really have achieved much better results. So now the camera seems to connect much quicker to the phone, and in addition, it holds its connection much better. In fact, during the same 20-minute walk, it didn't lose its connection once. It's also added some functionality to the phone. So you know that you've updated the firmware if you get that little green dot when you're in the camera app. There it is again. So for instance, even the exposure compensation seems to be a bit easier to use than it was before. It seems a little more responsive. I don't know if that's the case or not, but before it was very awkward to use. You still have the intelligent auto, the superior auto, the program mode, and the camera always had aperture priority, but now you have shutter priority, which is critically important. And you can adjust your aperture from a fairly low aperture all the way up, and you can adjust your shutter speed from a fairly low shutter speed all the way up. And you can also adjust your ISO now independently, either having it at auto or going up to a ISO of 12,800. So you have control over all those things, not quite fully manual, but significantly better, and really makes this camera useful. So with that, let me get out of this screen again. So what's my opinion now? Well, I think this camera really could work for some people. I know a lot of professionals panned it, saying that it's just easier to carry a camera that has Wi-Fi in it. But the great advantage of this camera is that every time I take a shot, I get a full resolution shot to a little SD card in the camera, a little micro SD card. But then it sends the shot directly to my phone. And I can choose either VGA or 2 megapixel or full resolution. And if I, for instance, choose a 2 megapixel image, that's more than enough to send up to Facebook or to send in an email. I don't have to reduce the size or anything, and the image quality is very good. And the separate phone camera combination doesn't do that functionality. And it's connected, so it's all one piece. It's very easy to take a picture and then immediately send it where I want to send it. So I think this really does have a place in the world of photography. Maybe it's not for everyone. Definitely in its early kind of what I consider beta versions, it was not user-friendly, and it was a work in progress. But with these new additions, I think that the camera actually worked pretty well, and I would consider it using it, especially if I was going someplace and I knew that I was going to be posting a lot of images to either Facebook, or if I was going to be sending a lot of images via email, because after all, you have the guts of an RX100 II, which is a really, really excellent camera, far superior to what you're going to get in any cell phone, and now you have some of the controls to match. Now, is this a direct competitor with the RX100 II? No, the RX100 II has a lot more features and functions that you can implement, but they've gone a long way with these latest firmware and software upgrades, and I actually recommend the camera now for those that want this specialty type of camera in a very interesting form factor. If you get some time, please give my podcast a listen. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. You can find it on iTunes and other podcatching sites. And if you'd like, please subscribe down there somewhere so I make more of these videos. Take care.